Hello everyone! Welcome to the world of English! So yes, even though our topic for today, science and health writing, it is still in English. So now we will discuss all about science and health writing in photojournalism. What is science journalism or writing? English or Tagalog is not the language of science. Understanding or pag-zero-alam is the language of science. So scientific subject matter often in a non-technical manner for an audience of non-scientists. So here, English or Tagalog is not the language of science, but the language of science is itself. The terms, the knowledge that we can use in order to write a science article. Science and health journalism conveys reporting about science to the public. The field typically involves interactions between scientists, journalists, and the public. So, science and health journalism conveys reporting about science to the public. So, here are the important notes. The aim of a science journalist is to render the very detailed, specific, and often jargon-laden, or the ample information produced by scientists into a form that non-scientists can understand and appreciate while still communicating the information accurately. So the very aim of a science journalist is to render the very detailed, specific, and often jargon-laden information. The specific roles. First, educate the public. Next, translate scientific research. Third, inform the public about new developments in science. So the trends, the current inventions in science, the current developments in science. Engage audiences in discovering what science and technology means to their lives. It helped the public to make those connections meaningful. So those are the specific roles. So the trend in science writing. These are the updated in science writing article. Okay? The infotainment describes science writing that informs a non-specialist target audience about new scientific discoveries in an entertaining fashion. The informing, or first is the infotainment, next is the informing rather. So what is informing? So informing consists of giving the reader some historical background surrounding the scientific study, summarizes key findings, and then describes the significance and implications of the research. Next, the use of analogies to convey complex scientific concepts so that a reader without a professional scientific background can grasp the ideas driving the research. So the trend in science writing are infotainment, informing, then the use of analogies. Another trend in science writing is the direct quotes. It helps illustrate the motivations, relevance, and emotional impact of the findings. Entertainment component ranges from an enticing or witty style of writing for the choice of the subject matter. For example, techniques, discoveries, heartwarming stories about ailing children, sci-fi robots, quirky anecdotes, or heroic struggles of scientists. The process of science writing. Hatem Sedki says I had to explain how science writing helps people understand their world, improve their lives, understand the universe, the natural or environmental changes that happen all the time. Science is broad, it is not limited. So I begin step by step. I do some environment, some health, some sport medicine, and some science news. After 6 months, I begin to teach them what is the difference between news and reportage, a subject and a feature. So here you can write a science article that is all about improving the lives, understanding the universe or the natural or environmental changes happening in our world or in our environment. So here are the tips in science writing. First, present the take-home message or the main message at the beginning or the summary sentence. Examples. Scientists have now found that lobsters use an internal magnetic compass to navigate during their annual mass migrations into deeper waters. So that's it. You are going to present the take-home message or the main message and then the summary sentence at the beginning of your paragraph. In a recent report published in the journal Nature, Professors Tia Lynn Ashman and Danielle J. Scowen present the remarkable finding that plants time their production of flowers in much the same way that people run efficient businesses. According to Professors Graciano Florito and Pietro Scotto, working at their laboratories in Italy, the common octopus can not only be trained to distinguish between objects of different colors, but can in fact learn to make these distinctions more quickly from each other than from human trainers. So what I've read are another example of present the take home message. Then another one, researchers at the Dr. Seuss School of Medicine and the Mount Auburn Hospital have discovered an inherited molecular defect that makes some people naturally resistant to malaria, a disease affecting over 300 million people in tropical areas around the world. Another tip in science writing. Number 2, make sure your lead allows you considerable room for creativity. The bullet lead. We all know people who have trained their dogs to fetch the daily newspaper without tearing it. Similarly, we all know that horses can be trained to respond to the slightest movement of their riders, and we all know that goldfish can be trained to come to the front of the fish bowl at the sound of a bell. Now it turns out that even octopi or the octopus vulgarus can be trained to perform certain simple tasks, and that they actually learn those tasks more quickly from each other than from a human trainer. So, let us come back to the first tips in science writing. So, present the take-home message. Then another one is to make sure your lead allows you considerable room for creativity. So this example, very beautiful example of a bullet lead. It is all about that animals can be trained, just like the dogs, then the horses. Okay, the dogs, you can train them to fetch daily newspaper, so without tearing it. And then the horses can also be trained according to this example to respond to the slightest movement of the riders. So, and also the goldfish can also be trained, okay, to the front of the fish bowl at the sound of a bell. So upon hearing the sound of a bell, the goldfish will come to the front of fish bowl. So even though the octopi or the octopus can also be trained to perform certain simple tasks. So according to these examples. So I hope you learned something today about science and health writing. So goodbye for today. Thank you. So there will be another part of this discussion.